Good morning, Honorable Mpundu, and welcome to the Hoti.
Morning, Peter. Good morning to you, and good morning to our listeners this morning.
It's good to have you on the show this morning. I'd like us to start with, the elephant in the room. Something that's about to happen, I think in about an hour's time. President Nkana MP is expected to assent to Constitutional Amendment Bill number 7 today. What's your overall position on this bill, and just give us your reasons why?
Peter, it's a very sad day, for Mother Zambia. On Monday this week, Parliament crossed the line that would take many years to erase. Unfortunately, the President today is signing into a law something that I would call illegal. Because between you and me, anything that is born out of an illegality will forever be illegal. You have heard of, lawyers would always argue they'll hold it, even if you buy something, legitimately so, you've produced money, you've bought something because it was being advertised. For as long as it has not been bought from a market or vet, they'll say you've stolen. Okay? And so the law is very clear. We don't all have to be lawyers for us to be able to understand some of these, legal positions. If something is born out of a void, it is a nullity. And at least here where we stand, we are supported by the position of the Constitutional Court. In the Munia and Celestine Mukandila's case versus the Attorney General, the Constitutional Court pronounced itself that the process that was used to commence the amendment of the Constitution via Bill 7 was not founded on the law. It was an unconstitutional process. And therefore, the law holds that anything that is born out of such an illegality is also a nullity. Interestingly, Parliament which swears, parliamentarians who swore to protect and defend the Constitution went ahead and entertained that illegality. The President, who is the number one defender of the Constitution of the land, has gone ahead to assent into law something that is illegal. A very, very sad day, for the country. Look, this issue needs to be looked at in two folds. Okay? There's a contentious clauses, that have been subject of a wide-ranging debate over the last couple of months. But the process, remember, in amending the Constitution, two fundamental issues are key. Number one is to agree on the process. The lawyers have always argued that the process is as important as the contents. In fact, the process is so important because it protects the contents. And we've learned throughout history, from the time of the UNIP days, that every time this country embarked on any process to amend the Constitution, people had to build consensus, because consensus is everything in amending the Constitution. By the way, in enacting the law, it is not about the numbers you enjoy, particularly in Parliament. It is about convincing every citizen, because the law is meant to be enjoyed or to guide every citizen. Whether you who are in the ruling party are the majority and the rest are the minority, any sane leader would ensure that even the minority are convinced to buy into the proposition to change the law or to create a new law. So to suggest that because you enjoy the numbers in Parliament and so you don't care whether the others don't agree is completely a very wrong approach. In this case, we are even talking about arguably the largest population refusing or having objected this process. So we get back to the origin. How was Bill 7 born? Bill 7 was born from the bedroom, because we only heard the announcement of the president that they had agreed to amend the Constitution. You have agreed with who? because the agreement must come from the people.
Yeah, I want to put something forward to you as you tell us that the source of Bill 7, because I had Honorable Cornelius Much on the show here, and he said the source of some of those clauses were from Parliament.
Which Parliament?
You as parliamentarians, and somebody that's a former member of Parliament, somebody that's close to you, former Petauke member of Parliament, was supposed to put a motion on the floor of Parliament to that effect to discuss one of the clauses that are in Bill 10 to bring forward to the changes in the Constitution, and that you as parliamentarians had agreed that you needed to have some of these clauses that are in Bill 7, amend the Constitution, and there was that consensus in Parliament for this process to start.
There's no argument as to the need to amend the Constitution. There's no argument. The Constitution is not completely okay. It has flaws that needs to be, revisited. I want to state here publicly that I don't object to the need to amend the Constitution. And I think that all those who have spoken against Bill 7 have not argued that there was no need to amend the Constitution. They've simply argued around the rush, the process, and everything else.
Well, do you agree with the source? The source or the starting of this bill, where these clauses came from? Did some of these clauses come from you as parliamentarians agreeing in unison to say we need this? And Honorable Emmanuel J. Band at that time was going to present this on the floor of Parliament before his legal battle.
Peter, never. In fact, the process of amending the Constitution cannot start with the members of Parliament. It can never, it has never, it will never. The process of amending the Constitution has to start with the people. We as members of Parliament are simply representative. And in fact, we've actually been given so much leeway that we go to Parliament to amend any piece of legislation. There's so many acts of Parliament that we have amended as members of Parliament without even having to go to the people. This capping has only been put around the amending of the Constitution, that for you to amend the Constitution, it cannot just be you, the members of Parliament. It must go down to the people. So the originators of any amendment process cannot be Parliament. It cannot be Community House. It cannot be the Anderson Mazoka's house or building or the Secretariat of the UPND. It always has to be the people. And that is why, even when this matter was challenged in the Constitutional Court, the Constitutional Court explicitly stated that this process, that gave rise to Bill 7 was unconstitutional. It was not founded on the law. And so anything that is unconstitutional, anything born out of an unconstitutional process is a nullity. It's a void ab initio. That's what the lawyers would say at least. So the starting point of this whole thing is illegal. And therefore, everything else we did on Monday and whatever is being done by the president today is an illegality and must never be, allowed to go ahead.
This argument that you're putting forward was put before the courts. And the courts threw out these petitions.
Look,
what's your take on that? The fact that the courts did throw out the petitions that were put forward before the courts with these similar arguments.
The court did not put, away or did not throw away the original process that was initiated by Munia and Celestine. The court made its position. The court stated that Bill 7 was born out of an unconstitutional. I think there's a judgment there. Yes. Listen, the court did not say Bill 7 was illegal. Let's be very clear, right? The court did not make a pronouncement because, you see, when you go to the court responds to what you are praying for or what you are asking, okay? The court responded according to what was asked or according to what was prayed. And the prayer was to state whether the process was legal. And the Constitutional Court held that the process that gave birth to Bill 7 was not constitutional. Now, the law holds that anything born out of an unconstitutional process is a nullity. I think that all of us are aware that the court gave the position. The other issues you are referring to are the other processes that were then, commenced following the adamance by the UPND to proceed. Because you know the flow of events. Bill 7 is taken to the floor of the House. A day before the pronouncement of the judgment of the Constitutional Court, the president says, let's defer Bill 7. And then he proceeds to constitute a technical committee, okay? With obviously the supposition that the technical committee was now going to go to the people and consult them, which we saw them do. Whether they got 15,000, submission, that is an argument for another day, but at least something was done. I remember remarking on my Facebook page saying, at least my president, because we've now seen him do the right thing, which is constitute a technical committee, whether it was technical or just a semblance of technicality, but at least we saw a grouping of people being constituted according to the powers given to the president, right? And they went to do that job, whether it was a limited time or not, but at least we saw them come up with submissions from the people. The law holds that when the technical committee does its job, they collect all these submissions. They're supposed to hand over a report to the president. Okay? We are lucky this time that the technical committee, amongst the people that sat in the technical committee, were some people who are drafters, good at drafting. They went beyond just putting up a report. They even did a draft bill, which they presented to the president. Now, the procedure is the president must now present that report to cabinet. Cabinet then must mandate the Ministry of Justice to now put together a bill, which must now be gazetted in public domain for 30 days for people to scrutinize what they had submitted if they've been reflected in the bill. It is after the 30 days period of gazetting that the bill must now be introduced into Parliament. Now, the trouble is the UPND were racing against procedures and against time. Remember, the rules of Parliament holds that when you have a bill on the floor of the House and it is withdrawn, you cannot introduce another bill pursuing the same desire within that life of a parliament.
Yes.
So Bill 7 was introduced in the last sitting. When it was withdrawn, that is why we were always insisting withdraw it completely.
But it was just deferred.
It was just deferred. So they did not want to withdraw it because they knew they had no time. In fact, they deceived the Zambian people because they knew they were going to introduce the same bill, because by the procedures of Parliament, there is no way they were going to introduce another bill, because for them, it was a must that this process must be done before we close Parliament this season. That is why people were insisting, why are you rushing? Because if they had not rushed, they would have allowed the bill that came from the technical committee to be gazetted and to be introduced to Parliament the next time we sit. You understand? For them, it was about rushing so that the window does not close, because we are coming back to Parliament in February, right? And the time from February up to the time we are going to have election was too short for them. That is why for them they wanted to make sure that before we close Parliament, that bill is is passed. That is why the work of the technical committee was simply a smoke screen. They knew they would not do anything with what the technical committee collected from the people. That is why they now commit another illegality. Remember, the technical committee is simply a legal advisory body to cabinet or to the president on a constitutional amendment process. So the work of the technical committee ends at making a submission to the executive. When they submit to the executive, they become what in law is called a functus official. It means that their legal standing, their authority to hold office, ends there. Are you getting me, Peter? It ends there. There's never been in the history of this time that the technical committee goes to submit to a select committee of Parliament. But because they wanted to justify the constituting of a technical committee, they're going to spend public money to collect these views, And they made this technical committee go to make a submission to a select committee. Come on, Peter. The technical committee's work is what we should have been discussing. But unfortunately, they were against time. They were against the procedures of Parliament, because the procedures of Parliament would never have allowed them to introduce another bill. So these guys, by UPND, are deceivers. Babu fee. They lied to the Zambian people that they had listened. They were going to start or restart the process. And they produced a smoke screen in the name of the technical committee, whose work amounted to nothing in principle. So whatever it is that we did, remember, there is no amount of procedure that can sanitize an illegality. What we did at Parliament was simply trying to sanitize an already illegal bill. Whatever it is that we did there, Peter, yes, because people enjoy power, they have gotten away with that, but for how long? We've seen these things before.
Yeah.
I was part of the PF, remember?
Yes.
When the ministers were told you cannot hold office after the dissolution of power, what happened? They insisted. There was interpretation from their lawyers, but the day came when they were made to pay because they were found offside. And today, the UPND wants to prove, or rather want to claim they know the law more. There's a day of reckoning coming when this process will be pronounced illegal. And guess what? People are going to dance around.
Honorable Mpundu, now that we've talked about the process, debated about the process, talked about judgments, what the court said, lawyers have gone to court, tried to, emphasize on that point. This bill passed Parliament. You as members of Parliament voted on, what you felt was right and what you felt was wrong and what you felt needed to be done at that point. Let's discuss these clauses. What specific clauses in Bill 7 do you believe will positively or negatively affect the people that you represent, the people of Nkana and Zambia at large?
So, first of all, there was the original Bill 7, whose clauses were highly contentious. As an example, the original Bill 7 sought to stop people from participating in elections as independents. I objected such a proposition because it was complete madness. Because me, I'm a product of, the same constitution that gave me, the leeway to go and participate as an independent. So anybody suggesting you must do away with, independence or people going to stand independent, for me, it was absurdity. But of course, in the final bill, they removed it. Of course, they did amendments. The first bill, the original bill, had sought to remove by-elections. And they wanted to give powers to the, political parties to be choosing leaders for citizens. Again, that was outrageous. Even if you want to save cost, I thought that the UPND could have at least suggested that the next best person should then take over if you are avoiding costs. Because the next best person, at least, is a reflection of the people's decision. Okay, even not the best option. But to suggest that if the person who was elected by the people dies or anything happens, there's a vacancy, then the political party that sponsored that person must bring another person, would have just brought chaos. Because then a political party would wake up and just remove and replace. Now, those clauses have been removed. At least there was a bit of some sanity created. The clauses that remain now, for me, I would start with this point. The last couple of weeks, junior doctors have been fighting with the Minister of Health. We have over 1,000 doctors who are providing services in our health facilities as volunteers. Without these volunteers, our health systems would collapse. Now, this government is saying we have no obligations to you. After all, what you are doing is simply volunteering. Instead of government saying, wait a minute, let's look for resources so that we can employ these doctors, so that we reduce the doctor-patient ratio. The same is for nurses. The same is for clinical officers. Government needs to employ enough health workers, enough, of these professionals. And the monies are there. How is it that today we find it convenient that we must bloat Parliament with parliamentarians instead of allocating those resources towards employing lifesavers? Peter, the UPND have proposed to increase Parliament by 113 members of Parliament. We currently have 156. UPND is proposing to have 70 new constituencies, 40 new MPs who are going to come in through proportionate representation, and they want to also have 3 that are going to be nominated. So we are talking about 113 new members of Parliament. The cost of 113, new members of Parliament is astronomical by all standards. Peter, I'm expensive to maintain as member of Parliament. Because when you take me to Parliament, you must provide all the necessities, as I must have a big car to enable me to travel back and forth from the constituents. You must accommodate me. You must be feeding me every day. You must be cooking for me. You must be doing my laundry and all these things. You must be giving me allowances every day I go to Parliament. The cost is huge on the state. As it is, 156 is a huge number, because what do the MPs do in that Parliament?
I want us to go back to the source of this, because we've been told the source of this issue is you, members of Parliament, some of you complaining that you're not representing your constituencies because the constituencies are too big, some of them are too populated. But also, I would like you to touch on this issue, because you talked about the looming, slow down or tools down by the doctors tomorrow, resident doctors. We did hear from the Civil Service Commission, who announced that they'll be recruiting 2,000 healthcare workers before the end of 2025 yesterday. I would like to get your reaction to that, because you spoke to the fact that the resident doctors are protesting, but there was that announcement to say they're going to recruit 2,000 workers and health workers, and they will pick from the people that are already volunteering and the people that applied, back in the day, and there won't be any new advertisement. But the source, let's also look at the source as you respond. The source of this issue to do with having more members of Parliament being included in this bill.
Remember, your original question was, let's look at this provision that you are not comfortable with.
Yes.
One of the provisions I'm not comfortable with in that bill that is becoming law now is the clause that speaks to the bloating of Parliament. You now create 113. And my argument is the numbers is too big. The cost is going to be too much for this country that is already struggling economically. Talk of 113, MPs. We are talking about 70 new constituencies. 70 means we are not just going to be spending on the MP as an individual, as the case is for the nominated and those who are going to come via the proportionate representation. We are talking about establishing new offices, 70 new constituent offices that are going to also be staffed, that are also going to have stationery and all these costs that goes with running an office. The cost is huge. Now, the argument as to the need for more constituencies is unfounded. Let's start with the suggestion. People have been suggesting so ignorantly that after 10 years, the Constitution says we must create new constituencies. Others think, or some think naively, that delimitation means creating new constituencies. It doesn't mean that way, Peter. Yes, the Constitution says after 10 years, you must delimitate. Now, delimitation does not mean creating new constituencies. Delimitation simply means realigning the electoral boundaries. Realigning them, and if you so wish, renaming them. It means, as an example, if you go to Quito, which has got 5 constituencies, you can say Nkana is too smaller than Chimwemwe. Let's realign so that Kuchimwemwe tuasunako tuabika kukunkana pakuti balingane in size. That is delimitation. So delimitation does not always have to give rise to new constituencies. Besides, the argument suggesting that development can only go to communities when we delimitate is also flawed. I'll give you as an example, and I've used this as a carrot to dangle to the communities. They are suggesting, look at CDF, which is now at 40 million. Panga kona imbi constituents, we are now going to have 80 million. What stops the UPND from giving that community 80 million today? Nothing. As an example, PF left CDF at 1.6 million. The UPND have raised that CDF from 1.6 million to 40 million. Did they create any new constituencies? No. So the idea of taking development to the constituencies is not anchored or tied to the creation of new constituencies. It's simply political will. As an example is now, out of a national budget, only 2% goes to CDF. But look at everything is being done through CDF. So why can't government make a decision to say, look, since CDF is almost handling everything, it's buying ambulances, it's building hospitals, it's building clinic and roads, let's put more money on the CDF. We can raise it from 40 million, we can take it to 100 million. Do you need to create a new constituency? No, you don't. Do you need to create more MPs? Are they the ones who decide on the CDF? No. The people who decide on what must be done with the CDF are communities through WDCs, and they take those submissions to a committee called the CDF committee, and the council implements. So to suggest that development can only be enhanced when you create new constituencies and when you create new MPs is completely fraud, and it has simply been used to deceive the gullible Zambians.
Do you think throwing more money at these constituencies was the solution? Because there's the complaints that were put forward by some members of parliament were, I am not able to canvass my constituency, to listen and represent all the people in the constituency because it's so vast.
Bamdala,
it's big.
Why do you need to canvass? The problem we have created in this country is over time we have made it look like MPs are the one who should bring development to the communities. We must change that narrative. The MPs are not the ones who should bring the development to the people. That is why government is structured. We have got central government that houses all these ministries, education, health, home affairs and all this. And then we have the local government, which is spread across the country. When there's a pothole, does it need to take the MP to go and fix the pothole when the council is there? When there's no clinic, does it need to take the MP to go and build a clinic when the Ministry of Health and the local government is there? So to suggest that the MP must be traversing the constituencies, these are problems that we've created ourselves, and there's need for us to begin to realign our approaches. That is why we are calling for things that must not even be called for. It is not the job of the MP.
Are you therefore saying your fellow members of parliament they put forward reasons that are uncalled for?
Yes. It's because of lack of understanding. You should know, Peter, that it is not our job to ensure that or to see development go into the communities. But you see, it is the extra responsibility that society has placed on the members of parliament. Why do you think
is it that way around, or you do it yourselves when campaigning because you say these things and don't explain clearly to the electorate that my job here is just to go and enact laws in parliament and represent you in that manner?
Unfortunately, over time, that narrative has been created to a point where we can't run away from it. As an example, today a member of parliament can go to parliament and say no word for 5 years. For as long as ku constituency, kuli chililo, you provide a coffin. People will measure the performance of an MP today because alatwale mbokoshi. Not that he represents them in parliament, because the work of the MP is in three folds. Number one is to legislate, tukupanga mafunde, making the laws. Number two is to be part of a group that provide oversight to the executive. Number three is to pass the budget. The other responsibilities of lobbying for development is extra. Okay? It's extra because society has over time created this perception that MP, making sure a pothole is fixed, the toilets are functional and all this. And we've been flowing with that. If we realigned, you realize that what we are asking for, we should not actually even be asking for. What we should be doing is to increase the number of councillors, increase the number of WDCs because they are the ones who interfaces with the communities. When we are sitting in parliament, deliberating, making laws, the councillors are on the ground. They are the ones we should actually be paying more money. The WDCs are the people we should be giving money because they are the ones who should be doing the donkey work. The MP what is the problem? And he goes to parliament perhaps to create laws that address such issues. So to suggest that there is no development that is going to come to an area because there is no MP is flawed.
So do you think that we now have a situation where, based off our population, we will have a country that is overrepresented in parliament?
Exactly. By the way, Peter, you watch parliament now because of modernization, right?
Yes.
And I can bet my life you know every voice in parliament even before you open your eyes. You know Nkana MP Binwell because Binwell speaks. You know you are Nkana MP because he speaks. There are some people you have never heard speak. Is that not true? There are some people who have simply gone to parliament, delivered their maiden speeches, and they've never said a word for 5 years. Why do you want to now balloon that parliament with people that just going to be drinking tea and be shouting, yeah, 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 and then be paid hefty salaries? Those salaries you are paying to those people who go to shout, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why not allow those boundaries to create the delimitation? Why not create more words? Why not create, a situation where we have more WDCs? Because those are the people who actually interfaces with the communities on a day-to-day basis. The councillors are the ones who should be paid more, in my view.
What about Mpundu? There's a point that was raised during your debates from the right side that you, as a man that runs a movement called Chabaiche, does not want Abaiche in parliament because you are not for this bill and because it was proposing that there are specific seats reserved for Abaiche.
Peter, my movement is called the Movement for Good Governance, Abaiche. This is the movement that we have created specifically to give a platform to young people to also sit on the table of decision making. Arising from our experience, young people in Zambia have been used as tools. All the young people do in politics in Zambia is the work, or what we call donkey work. Because I'll tell you, there's no politics without young people. The sad part is that the young people of Zambia have been duped over the years. They keep being used to go and commit violence. They are used to go and vote. At the end of the day, when it comes to decision making, that's what the young people are subjected to. So for the very first time in the history of this country, we have created an agenda specifically to embrace the marginalized, the young people, and to some extent the women, to give them a platform for them to go and be part of the decision making. Now, the current laws do not stop young people from going to parliament. The chairman of this same bogus technical, or rather select committee that passed the Bill 7 is a youth. Are you telling me the law did not support him to go to parliament? Why do we need any other law when the current law can actually allow women and the youth to go to parliament? All that has been missing over the years is political will. We in the movement are actually providing the political will to embrace the marginalized. That is why, as an example, if you go to Chawama where there's a by-election here, the Movement for Good Governance, Chabaiche, is the only political group that has sponsored a youth in Chawama. The UPND, who have sung the loudest on inclusion, could have demonstrated in Chawama that they can field a disabled, they can field a woman, or they can field a youth. They have taken a fossey, or rather an old person, into Chawama. I thought that they could have led by example to field a young person. So, contrary to Jack Mwimbu, who says, I don't want to support the inclusion of youth, I am the one who is actually demonstrating. For me, I don't get easily carried away with deception. What the UPND have done through Bill 7 is simply to dangle a carrot to the young people that Bill 7 is meant to include you, the young people. We know from experience that the young, or rather the UPND, will not give the ordinary young Zambians those opportunities to go to parliament. They will pick their relatives. Experience has it. President HH had an opportunity to nominate youth in the 2021 election. How many did he nominate?
Don't you think that solves that current problem that you're talking about now, where we've seen time immemorial where political parties that are in power or political parties that have come and gone have not demonstrated the political will to actually have young people at the table, and the young people have been crying for this. Now, putting it into law to know that now, whether you like it or not, whether there's political will or not, there will be young people.
Sir,
there will be women.
Peter,
there will be people that are differently abled, best of the law, and not us depending on the goodwill of the politicians and the political parties.
Peter, there is no void in the law in regards to inclusion. In fact, if you read the Constitution actually speaks to inclusion. There is no void in terms of inclusion. The current law allows that young people can go to parliament, the women and the disabled can go to parliament. That is why the PF Adbachilangwa, as a disabled person who went to parliament, save for injustice, sent him out. That is why we saw Munia Zulu, Manuel JJ Banda go to parliament as young people, save for injustice, saw them out. There is no void in regards to the law, in regards to inclusion. Even if you change the law, Peter, you will now make it clear that there will be 12 or rather 15 youth. Tell me where the guarantee is that the youth in Kalingalinga will be amongst those 15. Tell me, because from evidence...
Doesn't that give the young people hope, now that we know that there are 15 seats that are meant for young people?
Well...
Isn't that better than depending again on political will and inclusion,
Peter,
based off political will?
Peter, don't easily be deceived. Yes, the young people born in the houses where their fathers traverse the corridors of power, it gives them a guarantee. It does not give a guarantee to the young person in Kalingalinga that he will go to parliament. It does not give a young person in Shangombo or Mulilansolo or in Kabompo an opportunity, because the current scenario, because of lack of political will, is that the people who are in charge will only recognize people based on their relationship. We know of many young people today who have been appointed to go into foreign service. If you check their relationship, they are all related to the people that traverse the corridor.
I'll give you as an example. Based off that, what you're saying, whereby, the people that come from well-to-do families are at advantage and they might be adopted and whatnot. You're an independent member of parliament. Don't you think that gives an opportunity for a young man in Kalingalinga, a young man in Chawama, a young man in Nkana, to, if the community decides we want this young person to be the next person, isn't it up to the people to decide now to place that young person in parliament?
Who will be deciding?
As an independent.
Who will be deciding?
The people.
By the way, do you know that these same MPs wanted to remove that power from the people to be deciding to allow you as an independent? These same people, save for the outcry from the public, these same UPND wanted to remove that power from the people, wanted to take away the power that the people of Nkana had to say, you been PF parliament. They wanted to remove it. Talk of this is what they wanted to do. What guarantee is there that the UPND are now going to recognize ordinary youth when they fail to recognize them over the years? But by UPND, our president could have nominated a youth. He had 8 slots. He could have nominated a woman, or rather a disabled and youth amongst the 8. None. He could have appointed a youth in cabinet. None. He could have appointed a disabled in cabinet. None. He could have appointed a youth as PS. None. What about foreign service? Yes, there are a few youths in foreign service, but when I have traversed those, embassies, I have found people's children in those embassies. Do you want me to mention them here?
Please do.
No, I will not mention
you
them.
You brought it up, the Honorable. Please mention names. Because we want to know.
I'll tell you, some of them have even confessed. Their children are in the embassies. I can name them given an opportunity.
You have
But
been
I'll
given
tell
the
you,
opportunity,
I'll
Honorable
tell
Binwell,
you,
because you brought it up. You brought it up on this platform.
Oh, by the
You
way,
have the right to
do you want me to name?
Please say the names. Whose
Honorable
children are in there?
Honorable Mwali Teta's daughter is in the embassy. Do you think she got there by accident? It's because she is traversed in the corridors of power.
Is she a qualified
It's
Zambian
not
citizen?
about qualification, Peter. We are talking about the proximity to those who makes decision. That is your qualification to being, sent into the foreign service or being given that opportunity. That is why we are saying the dangling of the carrot to the young people, all those young people who are excited to allow parliament, it is only those who are close to the powers that be that are going to go to parliament. Now, that is a bad law. By the way, the current setup is such that when you elect a member of parliament, look at Kabinwo. It's because for me, I go to report to the people. I am not answerable to any power. Njamushta answer to the people. Imagine now, when you send to parliament a woman who has just been sent to parliament by somebody who has that power, don't you think you are making the women vulnerable? Already women are vulnerable in politics. Do you want to subject them to be answering to somebody who has that power? Do you know that people or men can start abusing women because they will tell them jump, they would have to jump. Enter the bedroom, they'll enter the bedroom. Is that the situation you want to create? You don't want to leave women at the mercy of the appointing authority. Leave women at the mercy of the majority people in the communities. That is what we must be subscribing to. Otherwise, we are creating demigods. We are creating messiahs who will be calling the shots. If you don't jump, out. If you don't sing, out. If you don't cough, out. If you don't show me your skirt, out. Is that what we want to create? No, sir. That is why, for me, there is somebody who has been saying you are not speaking to the clauses you don't like. I don't like, number one, that clause that seeks to balloon the parliament, because the costs of taking care of those 113 can address so many needs. Today, Peter, farmers have not been paid. This is December. Farmers now must be weeding their plants. They've not been paid to buy their fertilizers and their seed. That money we want to be spending on politicians can be used to increase the number of beneficiaries on the FISIP program. Today, Zambia is sleeping in the dark because of load shedding. The money we want to be spending on these politicians can go to address the electricity situation. Oh, by the way, Peter, this is a very funny country and a very funny government, eh? I heard the announcement that the government, they were boasting, Musokotwani was boasting, that you have $5.3 billion in reserves.
Foreign reserves, yeah.
Peter, honestly speaking, you have $5.3 billion, but your farmers have not been paid in December. You are opting to go and borrow 5 billion kwacha, but you have 5 billion in the reserves. You have $5 billion in the reserve, but your people are sleeping in darkness. Barber shops are closing. Saloons are closing. Welding shops are closing. Don't you think that money should be used to address those problems? It's a question of mwasanga babini wona bapona na bafwane nsala but mwabasecha matumba na bakwate nsala. Is that normal? That is why we are saying, Peter, that it is completely amiss to suggest let's create, employment for politicians when the doctors, so many of them, are crying that they've been volunteering without being employed. The 2,000, health workers that is being promised will be employed is simply a drop in the ocean in regards to the so many who have completed their education and are simply loafing in the communities. It is a drop in the ocean in regards to the gap that exists between a health worker and the patients. We need to bridge the gap of the health worker and the patient. We need to bridge the gap between the teachers and the pupils. We need to bridge the gap in terms of infrastructure for schools, because even with the free education policy, we have actually highly compromised the quality of education, because abana balekala mu classroom ngefitekwa ngemkoko because in one classroom you find 200 children, and then you are boasting you have introduced free education. So those clauses, Peter, makes me very uncomfortable that you are going to create a monster.
Honorable, let's talk about something that, after the vote happened, has been a topic of conversation. Bribery, a vote for sale. There have been reports that some MPs were paid to vote for Bill 7. Were you approached as well by the right side to try and buy your vote?
The UPND knows my stance. Me, I'm an open book. What you see is what you get. Trust me, Peter, even you don't come with 100 kwacha to try and bribe me. I'm a principled person. So anyone, and I think everyone now knows that Binwell to work to 100 kwacha. In another chula, Peter, where I come from, I am a poor person. Even now as member of parliament, sometimes I even struggle to have ordinarily, I should have been the one chasing for money. I have a by-election in Chawama. Ordinarily, I should be the one who should have been lining up for that same money. That is if it is there. I'm not here to confirm that there was a payment of money. No, I don't want to be dragged. I don't know. But I have heard that people were taken to some places, flown into some places. I have heard. But I'm not here to confirm. But it is so wrong for people to sell their country for peanuts. Where or what happened to patriots? Imagine in the days of the liberation struggle, who was going to pay for Bakaunda to fight for the country? Who was going to pay Bakapwepwe Bahari Mwangankumbula to fight for the country? If the caliber of those, our forefathers, was like our caliber, where you go right to authenticate illegalities. And you are induced.
Have you asked some of these members of parliament that were in parliament that day with you? Because I saw that there was, again, another group that was missing there that decided to just completely stay away from the proceeding.
Yeah.
For those that were in there and they voted in the majority for Bill 7 to be passed, have you had conversations and looked at them in their eyes? Because I know some of them are close friends of yours, and asked them, boy, did you get this rumored 3 million kwacha?
Peter, I'll tell you for a fact, I sympathize with members of parliament. I really do. Members of parliament have got so much pressure. Peter, as I speak to you, 7, and they all want money for funeral, for coffins, for food. Besides, if you're on the opposition, even your little business will die. After all, this government, if you build something in proceed of crime, especially for us on the opposition, then they can build, hotels. I've heard some ministers are building hotels in Kumalwanshu Uko. Then it's okay. It's not proceed of crime. If Wenga washita kofe nangunika Hilux, ni proceed of crime. So I sympathize with members of parliament. They go through pressure. So it's possible that somebody can be threatened to alakukaka because to alimwene wa yumino muntu lupi campaign. It's possible that they can go to a member of parliament to say, look, ikatakoka something kona ukwata contract wala kupela contract or tatuwa kulipile. It's possible to entice people like that. But I think that it goes down to the principle or to the conscience of one person when you are approached with all that. I know for things of Imilando, where they have got a case on you, it is possible for somebody to give in because, even me, if I was as weak as many are, I would have said, let me trade so that I'm going to court tomorrow. Okay? On the cases I'm up against, I don't want to speak about them. It's something that, anyway, this is a public broadcast. But if I was as weak as many, I could have said, let me just wash myself clean. So, yes, as human beings, we may want to hammer, but some have genuine cases or reason why they made a decision why. But I have not been able to confront my friends because I don't have anything to say to them. Because number one, I was disappointed, extremely disappointed and let down. Peter, nalikele mu parliament ero naisamo nama members balongoloka kwati baba fumishefe mu idramu I just thought to myself, I think I remember posting saying, PF, parliament, because at that point, I could see that we had already lost the battle. But look, we are human beings. We can vote. They may have justification or reason why. Maybe we need to listen to them, Peter. Maybe you need to provide a platform for them to come and state why they voted for Bill 7.
In case you're just joining us, in studio, we have Honorable Binwell Mpundu, is independent Nkana Member of Parliament, joining us on the hot seat this morning. If you'd like to be part of this conversation, now is your chance. You can call us up on 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. If you have a question, I'll ask you to restrict your question to one question, all right, so that we have Honorable Mpundu to respond to as many questions as he can, as he's with us here on the hot seat. So call us up on 0974-870-877 or 0950-955-877.
You're listening to the hot seat on Hot FM 87.7. It's time for you to call now and get involved. Call now and get involved.
Good morning. You're through to the hot seat. What's your name?
Hi, this is Miguel.
Miguel, good morning to you. We have Honorable Mpundu in studio. What's your question or contribution?
It's a good morning.
Morning, Miguel. How are you, my brother?
I'm all right, thank you. Just a contribution on what the doctor said about the doctors. I think as a reader, this is not how you come out, because even if they are just doing it on their own, but these people are really working, because when you go to marijuana hospitals, you find that people queue to wait for a doctor. Now these people have changed them. How is it going to be now in these hospitals that we have? Because I went at Namasoko there. For you to be attended there, you wait for your doctor, depending on which side department you are. You wait for maybe 6 hours to be attended to. So I think that was not good for you to talk like that.
Okay, Miguel, thank you. It's 0974-870-877, it's 0950-955-877. Those lines will get you through to the hot seat. We're live on Kwitu FM 93.3 FM. We're live on Nkana FM 97.7 FM. We're live on Hot FM 87.7 FM. And we're also live on Facebook and YouTube as well. Good morning. Bueno bwanji ni mwandansi nanu.
Ndira bamakanjera ntumira ku garden Kirungi.
Bamakanjera zinanu ni mandani.
Nali shebo.
Nali shebo zikomo. Bafunse no bino tinao mkuru.
Binwell Mpundu muri bwanji.
Bwina mai muri bwanji naimo.
Niri bwino. Ina niripe question ni kukuyamikira ni kuvamile mwana tita. Uta supporta Bill 7. Monga ine niri kumandevu constituency niri very disappointed na basakapuswa. And ndiye kusira political career kwao. Mwane wana siria bafosina sinyangwe. Bali kurenda mjawa balete basata. So imwe limbani chabe. Support vintu valo nguminu wa Mazambia chivuti kamaona te. In road setting kuma hospital na manje tukaenda batile mbea mapepa. Boku the cost of living is high. But wewe ndo support team support and zira maona te. Ife kuti fosa ukatisa ukiretu so chat. So Binwell Mpundu limbani. Aba bana kusapota Bill 7 ndiye kwenda kwao, ndiye kusira political career kwao. Ndiye vaneni ngakambe kwenye bamaka anjera. Ziko mwa Binwell Mpundu mulungu akaziku Dar es Salaam.
Ziko mamai.
0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. We'd like to hear from you. Call us up if you have a question or contribution. We have Honorable Mpundu in studio. If you have a question for him, do call us up now. Good morning.
Good morning, peace. Good morning, Honorable Binwell Mpundu.
Morning, sir.
What's
Thank
your name?
You. This is Winfred on the line, calling within Lusaka.
Winford?
Winfred.
All right, Winfred, please go ahead with your question or contribution.
Sure. I would just like to thank Binwell Mpundu.
Thank you.
You know, maintaining dignity and integrity is not a cheap thing somebody could afford. You know, what we speak are totally different to what we probably do. And if you find a man walking a talk, you know, maintaining dignity and integrity even under the difficult circumstance, I'm telling you, you know, It's not a cheap thing, as I stated earlier on. You are one of those heroes, the likes of Simon Masaka Pwepwe, Kenneth Kaunda. My older brother, what has happened on Monday, it's a shame to everybody. I don't think any meaning Zambian can, feel pleased with what has happened. Just to give kudos to you.
Thank you.
Continue to walking a talk. It's not something you can pick from the street. It is very expensive. Keep it up, my brother. The brighter day is coming for you.
Thank you.
Who knows?
Thank you.
No one knows. You may read this country.
Thank you.
Just maintain your stance.
Thank you.
I think I just have to, I just come to appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we are behind you. Being honorable.
All right.
Thank you, my brother.
Winfred, thank you for your call. It's 0974-870-877 or 0955-877. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name?
This is Wadia calling you from within Lusaka.
All right, Wadia, please go ahead with your question of Honorable Mpundu in studio.
Okay, Honorable Mogati and
how are you, Wadia?
No, very fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Zulu, I feel you asked me a very good questions, and for that I recommend you. And then for the Honorable, I'm following you. So keep up with the good work. What you're doing for Zambia, I think one day people are going to realize that we had Honorable Binwell Mpundu. And then not a question, but also a contribution concerning the proposed 2,000 health workers. I feel like the Minister of Health and the Civil Service Commission really need to be sincere to the people regarding that number, because you find that out of that 2,000, maybe a certain number will go to the cook, the cleaners, drivers, security personnel, and all that. But they are all regarding the 2,000 health workers. Is there a way maybe that MOH and the Civil Service Commission could be sincere with just the correct number of health workers and not a supportive health workers, like they do with the teaching commission, where if it teachers, it's only teachers. Otherwise, I submit that.
All right, thank you very much. Honorable, I think your response to some of those comments.
Okay. I want to start with Miguel. He actually agrees with me that there's a challenge in the hospitals. And imagine what will happen with all that fight that is going on between the Minister of Health and the volunteers, the health professionals. Look, there is a better way to address people that are giving a service to this country. The volunteers, doctors, nurses, clinical officers are doing a service without being given anything in return. You cannot be that unempathetic that you just make a statement as, like the one that the minister made, where he said that it's just a voluntary. I think what happened to empathy? What happened to ukuzembeleka kwa abantu bane? Give us some time, we'll be able to, harmonize all these situations. I think they're not asking for too much. Why are we training all these health workers if we have no, agenda for them? Secondly, there's no way you can prioritize employing or creating opportunities for politicians when the country is going through these problems. Because the issue of availability of doctors, nurses, and other health workers is a big challenge in all the health facilities. So what do we make of the situation where instead of prioritizing these health workers, these very essential workers, lifesavers, we keep allocating or prioritizing the interest of politicians? That is why, for me, Bill 7 is evil, because it does not address the need of Amai Angela in Garden Compound. Because Amai Angela wants electricity. Amai Angela wants roads. Amai Angela wants drugs in the hospitals. There's a report of serious challenges of drugs in all the hospitals. The monies we are going to be paying to these politicians, the 113 MPs, could have gone a great deal in addressing some of these problems that people are faced with. So I understand, Miguel, you are rightfully placed with your contribution. Amake Angela says thank you. She says the MPs that made a decision may have just killed their careers. I hope they have not. I hope they will have a chance. I hope they'll be able to remedy the situation. It's human to make mistakes. I hope that a mistake we make today is not going to be fatal. I hope that there will be a chance for people to say, okay, so we're going to forgive you for the sins. And I want to implore my brothers, my sisters who made that mistake to go back to the people and perhaps explain why they made that mistake. Because some mistakes, are beyond redemption. She has lamented that it was the same that happened when PF MPs were enticed. Again, during another constitutional amendment process during the MMD, some people lost their career. She has mentioned Bamayo, but I'm very close to Bamayo Faustina, so I don't want to mention her. But these are lessons that I think we must pick along, our journey through life. Winfred says, thank you for the dignity. Yes, dignity is not cheap. Some of us here are at risk for standing ground, defending our principles. You hear, unreasonable charges being labeled against us. Some things that even the same people who lay the charge on you even used to do. For instance, the issue of defend yourselves. These are statements that President HH used to make. Every single time there are several videos of President HH saying, calling on the UPND to defend themselves. Okay? He, in fact, would even say, if the PF come with pangas, also pick pangas. Because, in fact, he was not wrong. Because the law holds that you have the right to defend yourself. And you can defend yourself with equal measure, meaning that if somebody comes with a gun, also use a gun. Is a gun unlawful in Zambia? It is lawful. But you see, because of the stance we've taken, we are being found being persecuted. I have my friends who are in jail today, Munia Zulu, as an example. And Munia is a hero that must be celebrated. Whereas others are being enticed easily. Munia is coming from jail to drag the UPND to court over the Bill 7. Imagine that umuntu are incarcerated, the freedom has been taken away, but he comes from a jail to come and stand up to fight for the Zambian people. But if we freedom, we are even participating in the illegalities. So it is not cheap to stand the way we are standing. Don't we have needs? We do. I have children. I have school needs. I have a family to take care of. I have my personal needs. Don't I need money? Wouldn't I want to be associated with the UPN so that I can also be enjoying business? The last time I did business myself, is when I was in Kitu. I was a supplier named. The moment I was removed from the office, every little thing was closed. Today, I can't even try because every time it's a poison. So to stand where we are standing, some of us, is extremely risky. If we know kwenda to adidekadimo, pakwenda fenangu past 18 hours, you have to think twice because it's risky. What with the abductions that we are witnessing? Because the UPND have shown, contrary to what we thought they were angels, they are ruthless at violence. They have introduced abduction, something that has not been seen in the politics of Zambia. We know there's been violence in Zambia. We've never reached a level where people would be abducted in broad daylight. So it's very risky, but is it worth it? Yes, it is worth it, Peter. Imagine if our forefathers were not brave. Ilelo would still be under Ian Smith, Nabena Welensky. Ilelo. But because there are people that were able to lay their lives for this country, that is why we enjoy what we are enjoying today. So, yes, I will continue under this pursuit. It's not easy, it's going to be rough, but if I die, Zambia stands to gain. And like he says, Winfred, history will always hold an account of those that did good for this country. Just like today we read about Ali Mwanga Nkumbula, Simon Mwansaka Kpwepwe, Kenneth Kaunda, Peter Matoka, and all those because they did good to the country. Wadia says, keep it up. Thank you so much, Wadia. And Wadia laments over the 2000. He says, the Ministry of Health is not being sincere. And I've heard these lamentations across, the spectrum, that the 2000 they're talking about will include a portion for the disabled, a portion for drivers, cleaners, as well as the array of health workers. Here we are talking about doctors, nurses, pharmacists, clinical officers, and they're quite too many. So 2,000 is a drop in the ocean. Don't we have money? We do, Peter. This is a country that is boasting of $5.3 billion in reserve. Meanwhile, the patient-doctor ratio is absurd. I think our priorities are misplaced as a country. That is why, I always say, the problem with Zambia is not that we lack. The problem with Zambia is that we have no leadership. Or we have a leadership that has misplaced priorities. This is a leadership that would rather allow the foreigners to take away our minerals in concentrate forms and allow them not to pay a single duty. Meanwhile, this country needs money to pay our farmers. We are losing billions of dollars from a decision that was made by this government to allow the export of minerals in concentrate form and not even asking them to pay duty from June to December. This is a government. How can we be reckless as a government that we allow multinationals to be having tax holidays? Meanwhile, the local industries or local companies are struggling. I'm a businessman lelo. Ngapusa kofeka payment kabazedara a Myroninshi tax clearance has been cancelled. How can he even pay your Congolese if you have suspended his operations because you have cancelled his tax clearance? So the problem with Zambia is mispriorities or not knowing what must be done at what particular time.
All right, let's pick up more calls. It's 0974-870-877 and 0950-955-877. We'd like to hear from you this morning. We have Honorable Mpundu in studio. If you have a question or contribution, feel free to call us up. Good morning.
Good morning, PZ. Good morning, Honorable Mpundu.
Morning, my brother.
This is Peter.
All right, Peter, please go ahead with your question or contribution. Oh, Peter just, his line just dropped off there. It's 0974-870-877 and 0950-955-877. Good morning. Hello, good morning. 0950-955-877 and 0974-870-877. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, Honorable Mpundu.
Morning.
What's your name?
Charles Mbewe.
Charles Mbewe. Charles, please go ahead with your question or contribution.
Please, thank you so much. Honorable Mpundu.
Okay.
First thing first, receive my road flag.
Thank you.
The heart that you have for the Zambian people.
Thank you.
At all, we may have 20 or 30 of such people that really have a heart for this land. And this land will never be the same. But that part is that we have most of the people. I do remember that President Sakama, so rest in peace, said a lot of these people are really cowards. A lot of these people don't mean well to this land. All they want is the stomach to be full. They forget about the people who sent them to represent their needs, to represent their cry in these constituencies. There are a lot of issues. When you come into Kawata constituency, since Ruvinda left, there is no change. I appreciate Ruvinda, given Ruvinda, for the time he was in Kawata constituency for all these years. We saw what he did. When today, these roads, where this same man MP comes from, the roads are bad. And you have an MP who comes from a ruling government, and yet there is completely nothing. What about you who are independent? What about those that are coming in opposition? You know, this is the reason why those that are wicked, like those who voted to 7, they can be bought. They can be bought and do anything, because it seems to be very hard. If the MP who is connected to the government has completely failed Kawata constituency, what more in my name? So please do your best and and we shall continue supporting you, Binwell Mpundu. I pray to God that let those that were so wicked and sold this land for a coin, God should see them through, punch them in a very separate way, contrary to the Zambians. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
All
my
right,
brother.
thank you very much. Thank you, Charles, for your contribution. It's 0974-870-877. It's 0950-955-877. I'd like to hear from you this morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name?
Abraham.
Abraham, please go ahead with your question or contribution.
We don't want my MP again. But the limitation, Maranda will understand. Why the more you want to submit to the General India? Our democracy have actually that the particular voter, the military political party has for a hour. The particular voter. Why the more my appeal is brilliant idea. So that you can give a pair of doctors. Any anti support to that. Party in the Awina, like you appear to Awina, Bakalashi Sera Masibo 17 Masaladi. Because now in the Shanda, more than 80,000. Nobody has over. Now you want to find it. I find it that. What I need to do
that. I'm from Kai.
0974-870-877 0950-955-877. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name? Mwamba, please go ahead with your question or contribution.
Wenshimbi mwashibukeni
nabuka bakalamba inshimbi tayongama
inshimbi tayongama ikontoka
taikontoka
Amuli baume mwirasa kamana. That's why today Kaunda is being remembered very mpera na day. Kaunda Day. Because of what they did. Wickedness will prevail. But only for a ritual. Let them go, who state out, celebrate, drink my champagne, wine, sign the bill. But it won't them. Bambi ba MP apapene endi akaria ya. Elo waba PF balabadika ni 34. I feel for them. Because when you look at UPND kuma strongwood wabo takuwa aba competition. Win my election is very easy. You remember by Davis Muira, he lost the election, but the National Minister of Home Affairs, because there is competition, he lost. So, because in I won't vote for Shakafusu. Now, made the number 6, I won't vote for you. No, because in a phone I in a day for so let them celebrate their wickedness. Then it remains. We conquer Shawai over it. I want them to reach who are tomato. Na salad. I look at him like I want salad na tomato. Leave but one day, case I celebrate.
Amen.
It's just a ritual.
Thank you.
Thank you. Work well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mwamba. It's 0974-870-877 and 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good. How are you doing? What's your name?
This is Chama. Calling you from Chingola.
Chama from Chingola.
Yes. Good morning. Not a Beno.
Morning, Chama. Mulishani bakalamba.
Bueno, Mulishani.
Bueno.
Chama. Don't conquer.
Thank you.
Because as far as I know, we are not in a constitutional crisis. But we need the industry to create employment. They are saying they want to move by because of expenses. But they are creating expenses by bringing more MPs in parliament. Because what I know is government has not brought all the constituent National Assembly in all the 156 constituencies. Some National Assemblies are just empty. Now, instead of creating employment by creating industry, they want to bring income to the nation. So that is also a mistake the government is making. We need industries which will be giving the national income, not only just consuming money from the national money. No, we don't need that. So keep it up, honorable. We'll be supporting you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Akaramba.
All right, Honorable, please respond to those.
Thank you. Abraham Batila, why didn't you go to submit if you wanted? Abraham, I want to tell you, I cannot participate in illegalities. Whatever the UPND have been doing through Bill 7 has been illegal, as pronounced by the courts, and I will never be part of illegalities. Bamwamba, na totela pamashwa yasuma bakalamba bandi, mwankoselesha, mwalishwa, inch totwaba mweyabu yama politics is a thankless job. And oftentimes when you stand for the truth, the likelihood that you stand alone is very high. And so when you see people commending you, it is encouraging. It helps us to even do better. Okay? You have said illegalities will be committed. One day the law is going to visit them. It will dawn on them that what they did cannot be forgiven under our laws. And we've seen this film before where, because now mukwata makalelo, you can, set aside the law, you can rape the constitution with impunity. Because power is temporal, unless by UPN will stay in power forever. But if they won't, some of these wrongs they are committing may come and haunt them. But Mabatila, thank you for the support, or rather for standing for the country. And he's wondering, Nish Babidi by UPND to increase all these numbers, when, as the case is, most constituencies don't even have offices, they're just renting. The case for my office, we just rent from ZRA. Many constituencies today have no own, offices or buildings. A lot of our MUP, Niba Squatter, Parliament or government has been spending a lot of money to rent offices for, MPs abatukwete. Imagine now increasing the number to 70 new constituencies. Imagine what will happen to that, Parliament or the Assembly hall, already we sit like chicken. Imagine they increase with, to 113, or by 113. Imagine if like the case was in Tanzania. First they started with building a new parliament, and then they say Senturundeko, because there is some sanity even in the sitting arrangement. But even then, for me, we have not reached a point. I want to say this to you, Chama. We've not still reached a point where we must increase until we stabilize our economy, until things start to look normal in the country, where problems are looking like we are addressing them. Not to English abantu ba nurse, ba teacher, ba doctor, enough to close up the gap. And let me just, before I forget, Bachama, my heart goes to the people of Chingola. I think that the people of Chingola have been treated very badly. Aba kukasompe, bali batobela mayanda, rain season. It is completely a miss of the government to go and demolish a mayanda. Abantu kubatobela mayanda mumfula. It is completely wrong for government to have given away the dump site ya Chingola. Elo aba icheba shala bale chula. And when they react, you want to throw them in jail using at formula that terrorism. It is so wrong for a government to want to punish young people. Yes, they were wrong by youth back Chingola. They were wrong to have thrown stones. But the punishment being suggested at those young people is outrageous. Besides, most of those young people they are picking up, some are just being picked up innocently. Imagine how much time they are spending in the police custody, and some may actually end up going to jail for having even not thrown a stone. Because in a mob psychology like that, chances are that you can point at people that even never participated in, the commission of a crime. So my heart goes to the people of Chingola, those whose houses were demolished, the young people, and of course those young people who are being persecuted, some of whom are actually innocent of the accusation that is being labeled on them. Peter says, or rather Charles Mbewe says, Bantumina Kwama flowers. Flowers. This is very good. Boy, thank you so much, Charles. And I want to agree with you. We have a lot of cowards in this country, cowards that will not stand to say no, including Balabene Abasangwa ku State House. President Muntu, it is people like Levi Ngoma, Jito, and the others who surround the president who should actually be able to stand and say, President, if you abantu bala tuimina. Because as things stand, I know the Catholic Church. Inkondo ka UPND mwambile okula tutukira ba bishop na ba patiri tamwaka isole. We've seen governments come here. We've seen governments go at the hands of the Catholic, because for you to step that line or to cross the line where you begin to insult the priests because they've just been holding you accountable. These are the same Catholic priests that stood with the UPND when the UPND was fighting Bill 10 Yaba PF. Today you start insulting them. The Oasis Forum, the Law Association of Zambia, the NGOCC, these are organizations that stood with the UPND and fought Bill 10. Today you are insulting them every day in, every day out. That's why hypocrisy is dangerous, because you often forget what you said in the morning when it is noon time. You often forget what you said in the noontime when it is evening. And this is exactly what we're seeing by UPND do. For me, I will never be a coward, Bachauzi, chawama na lala puensala na yomsalu. After all, if tu alida sana kale mbula ifwe na kasokopio, tu alida sana na kanunka. So, tufwe nga tu alale nsala, Bachauzi. But it is better to stand and protect and defend the constitution of the land.
Honorable Mpundu, I would like to thank you very much for coming through to the hot seat.
Peter, thank you so much. Permit me to just say this to the people of Chawama. They have an opportunity to elect a person that will take over where Tasila left. For us, we've presented a young man called George Mwenya. I think that in all fairness, the people of Chawama may need a representation of a man who is equal to the task. This is a young man who is a community leader, a church leader who has grown up in the community, who should be able to take over the remaining months and complete the projects that Tasila left. So the people of Chawama, Namkwata, George Mwenya, that you should, I think, consider. After all, he's the only youth. I think in Chalo number, we need more young people to be representatives of the people, as opposed to if Bade Mizembele at Bill 7, Youth Parliament. God bless you. Thank you so much, Peter.
All right, there you have it. That's our show for today. That has been the hot seat. We had independent member Nkana, independent member of Parliament, Honorable Binwell Mpundu, join us on the hot seat.